All right, sis. We're good to
Plaza
go.
Kamati no anyone. Plaza Kamati no anything anymore. Okay, so we're gonna start with the seventh class. In the seventh class is Mazatl. No anything Nemo, do you wanna start us off?
Want to go ahead and do it?
He's
Head too shy right now.
he says that he would like to pass.
Okay.
He needs to get
No
his
anything.
mind. Yeah, he needs to get his mind.
It's because I'm
He's
under
also
the
he's
weather.
under the weather, right? So you get the foggy
Yeah,
brain. Yeah.
we'll
Let me
go
go.
ahead and
Let
read
me go
it
take
and
some
restart
day
it.
for
That's
my
fine.
part.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
Yeah, me
So
toca
let's go
day
ahead
for.
and start. No anything, Pilar. Do you want you? I know that you shared the information about what Mazat was. Do you wanna start us off with that, maybe?
Sure. Well, I mean, we can read the documents after we give our share. But for me, Masat, the deer sign, it's the seventh sign in the Tonalpohualli. It really signifies like for a lot of indigenous people, a lot of tribes, the deer was one of the main animals that was being hunted for survival and sustenance. And so it signifies a lot the ability to provide for yourself, to provide for others. I know that what is also referred to when you're talking about the sign is that it's a sign that is very perceptive because deers are very aware and in tune with their environment, because that's how they survive, right? They have really good hearing. They can feel vibrations on the ground. They have really big eyes. They have a good eyesight. And so for us to encarnar, to take on the sign is to go into those like traits, right? To absorb those traits into our own experience of life. And so that includes, us being aware of people. I I really think that it's like something referred to now as hypervigilance, which can be unhealthy, but I do think that it's something that we all connect to, given the right situation. And another thing about the sign that I remember from the documents was that for Masat, it was like you are, or like you see, there's this archetype of the deer in the forest clearing, and it's eating grass. It's chill. Everybody sees that image and everybody thinks, okay, so this is like a relaxed environment. Everything is peaceful, but also the deer itself is not necessarily peaceful, right? Like it has all its sign, all of its senses are on high alert all the time. And so what that tells us individually is that we have to learn when to control how much we sense, how much we um, absorb from the environment that surrounds us. Because, you know, just example, modern day here, you're surrounded by so much plastic, so much toxic things, so many people that are unhealthy, that are not that are stuck in a trauma cycle, and you have to be able to perceive the threat, but also, not fall into that hole that is becoming like this savior complex of like, oh, I can figure it out. I can help them. I can fix things for them. Because the truth is, that everybody's life, everybody's experience of life is it is predetermined. It is existing because there's something that you have to learn from it. And so us, if we take somebody else's pain, if we take somebody else's experience and try to ease it for them, they will not learn what they needed to learn. And the same goes for us. There's something that we need to learn from what we are experiencing, and that's why we are experiencing it. And so we have to learn to process the emotion, learn to process the situation that we are finding ourselves in, and look at why we are experiencing it, what we can learn from it, what we can take from it, and move on. Because that's when you learn the lesson, right? When you can successfully move on from the situation. And what else from Mazatl? I know that they also speak about Temachtilistli speaks about intentional eye contact when talking about Mazatl. Intentional eye contact helps us to perceive the emotions that the other people may be having, the other people that you are making eye contact with, right? And so it's so much easier, I mean, from personal experience, you know, to perceive whether someone is being genuine when you make intentional eye contact. And I know that a lot of people do not like eye contact. I am one of those people that does not like eye contact because I feel like they are staring into my soul. But since I learned from this, since I started doing intentional eye contact, I am much more secure in myself, as far as like what I am putting out there when I make the eye contact. And you know, I can control what I am receiving from that eye contact. Like I don't feel fear anymore, which is something that I felt before when I, you know, was anxious, when I used to have anxiety, depression, all that stuff. And so now I'm a lot more perceptive and accepting of eye contact. It's a lot easier for me. Um, for Mazatl, the region is Tlaloc. And so Tlaloc is he's the region, he's the, what was it called? He is the, people call him like the god of rain, but there's this whole situation where it's like you have to, when you're embodying him, when you're talking to him, you have to find the equilibrium, which is between um, being, you know, that good rain, the rain that feeds the people, or being a thunderstorm that destroys shit. And so that is something that I feel like it's important to mention when we talk about Tlaloc being the regent to this sign. I think that's all I want to share right now. I feel like I'm going on forever. If somebody else wants to go next, and I'm done.
No anything. No anything, TechPad. Do you want to go ahead?
I mean, great words spoken. It's hard to follow. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add to it is a little bit more of that, just to add on to what Sister Pilar was talking about, the whole hypervigilance, right? The being aware of your environment and your situation, evaluating pretty much all the possibilities and outcomes, right? Being that, being in that state of mind, right? And you really did touch on a lot of good, like facts and points, right? Especially when you were tying it into, right, the anxiety, like that stress that you have because your body's dysregulated in a way, right? Many of us are walking around life right now with dysregulated nervous systems, right? And when that happens, you're not yourself, right? You can't be fully functional. You have some like limitations to yourself that are like self-imposed. Um, and so just to kind of like touch base on that, it's just that dysregulation, right? The need to regulate so that the nervous system can move away from the what they call the fight or flight, right, response of always just either being on alert, um, on awareness mode, right, or being like the complete opposite of just like disregarding, not paying attention. So that's pretty much all I would add with the whole deer and then the hypervigilant. and how it can relate to people. Yeah, Brother Atlani.
Tlazokamati no inixin. So I mean, I great points. Um, I think that I would want to add the Mazatl is this extremely important tonal also. Is the number seventh tonal, right? And we are basically the seventh direction, right? Uh, you have west, east, north, south, up and down, and we would be the seventh, right? So there's that kind of a duality between Mazat, the deer, and us when it comes to teaching us that that it comes also to a lot of different aspects of it, right? Um, Mazat is also extremely aware. It's full of intuition, connection with Mother Earth. Um, a, a deer is going to be using all of or most of its instincts to try and basically stay alive, right? If you listen to stories from a hunter, they'll tell you, you know, that you have to be against the wind because the wind will help the deer get away, right? Goes to show you that the deer are basically smelling. They're using that sense of a smell to basically try and figure out what is going on around them in their surroundings. When you look at a deer, you also notice that it's moving its ears all over the place a lot, right? And that is because it's basically doing that, is using its hearing as well, right? That sense that sometimes all of us take for granted. Uh, we take for granted a lot of the senses that we have, right? But the deer doesn't, right? Is using the wind to smell its surroundings, is using its tact to sense the vibrations of Mother Earth. Mother Earth is full of vibrations, just like all of us are, right? And the deer is in tune with the land, and he allows to basically be able to tell when things are coming nearby. That is essentially the perception that we're going to be trying to work on awakening, right? That awareness and intuition, that intuition that sometimes we have inside of us that we don't know how to explain, right? Sometimes when you're scared and you don't know the reason behind that, but you're feeling it, right? Is that sense that we have, that intuition that tells us that there might be some danger nearby, right? Is that same intuition that a deer would basically have, right? In the wild, they're going to be using this intuition to get away from danger, right? And we feel that in some instances, and we have to start paying attention to these little things, right? From our awareness and our perception, that is one of the big things that the deer teaches us. Other than, of course, it is considered a sacred animal, a sacred being by multiple different cultures because of a lot of reasons, right? It feeds us. The Amoshlis, the writings, used to be written in deer leather, deer skin. So none of this animal went to waste. The deer head would be used to try and connect with the animal, right? And we see even right now the dance of the deer, right? Which is beautiful, and it's a beautiful representation of how the head of a deer, the antlers would be used to connect with the environment around us. So that's another thing that I would say about the deer, about Mazat. Tlaloc, I mean, its regent, Tlaloc. Tlaloc is a lot of people think it's just the god of the rain, but it's way more. Is deeper than that, right? Is this philosophical aspect of water touching earth, right? The rain touching earth and being able to create life, right? Having those two elements, earth and water, basically working together to create life, along with the thunder and like Noinitzin Pilar mentioned, right? Tlaloc is this force, this energy that has multiple different aspects to it, right? It can be a hurricane, just like it could be a little breeze, that is giving life and allowing growth for everything. So it goes to show that balance of the deer as well, right? Which was also mentioned. So that's what I would want to say about Mazatl. No, anyone?
Are you ready to transition to the next slide?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
I think if we're not going to read it out loud, then the only thing left to mention from the other slide is that they say that they use the horns to transfer the hot stones that are used in temazcales. So that's also why they reference the deer to like the bringer of heat, or like the one that raises the sun, because of it's used in that and many other ways. But we can move on if y'all don't want to read it. It's cool.
I can read it out loud real quick. Mazatl, deer, orientation, Cihuatlampa, west, region Tlaloc, color black. The deer is an animal that symbolizes, amongst other things, perception, inoffensiveness, and sustenance. Deer is always alert, listening, smelling the air. It observes his environment. That is how he stays safe of dangers which he perceives before they can cause him a problem. Deer is an inoffensive animal that is content with eating and walking back and forth. The image of a deer eating grass in the forest, clearing is an archetype of peace and tranquility. Therefore, on a symbolic level, it also represents a state where mentally, physically, and spiritually you are in repose and perceptive. Excuse me. This can be understood as mental peace, but also as the complete opposite, being associated to shamanism and vision. The psychedelic cactus that the Nahuas called peyote is also known in tradition slang as venadito, which translates to little deer. Huichol perceived. Did I sum up? Huichol perceived. But ritual practices, as well as other nations, associate this animal with mystical states where generally truth to the unmodified consciousness can be perceived. Its relation to the sun is also very important. Some native pueblos believe the king star is lifted by the horns of the deer every morning. The deer, therefore, is the one that brings light, heat, and in the ancestral practice of Temazcal sweat lodge. Deer horns are used to move the incandescent stones that bring heat to the navel of the enclosure. There we can see the association of the deer with the sacred fire as it's carried. On another level, deer represents sustenance and prosperity since it was hunted to obtain skin and meat as well as bones and antlers that were used as tools. Its symbolism can be associated with that of the buffalo and the beliefs of the northern tribes. They are different but related with the so-called Mesoamerican culture. The hunted animal was always given respect. It was understood that from his sacrifice, sustenance was achieved for the whole tribe, and so he was sacred. That is why deer can also be associated with self-discipline and self-sacrifice. On a more mundane level, the deer can be a symbol of happiness and beauty associated strongly with the feminine and fragile, as well as agility and dance. In the Maya Quiche tradition, the Nahualque name of the sign deer for them also represents the hen as a metaphor to the four cardinal points and a center. It is said that it is a sign that indicates that which sustains. being understood as an opportune moment to realize offerings and reflecting our own responsibilities with the cosmos. Those with the sign of the deer are known to be responsible people with the capacity to prosper in workplace and discipline. They are great leaders, reflective, and capable of physical activity. Their negative side includes impatience, authoritarianism, and the tendency to isolate socially. Damn.
Tlazocamati, no anything.
Was this one right?
Here, I'll get this one. So Mazatl, the deer, related to heat, perception, sensibility. It's an animal that is constantly in a state of alert, with its sight wide open to see everything around it. With its sharpened hearing, it can hear the lightest of sounds. It is said that he can hear with his feet, but in the reality, he can feel the vibrations of the animal that is hunting him from afar. In humans, the deer gives us the ability to feel everything that is happening around us. Therefore, we must learn to separate what is ours from what belongs to others, because there is a tendency to want to help others that suffer close to us, and with that we may keep suffering that does not belong to us. We must accept that things happen to people individually because they have to learn something from it. They must work through the emotions individually so that they learn. Therefore, we should not keep something that is not ours. We have the ability to listen clearly to voices, sounds. When it gets to be too much, it becomes noise, which can hurt us. Therefore, we must accept our limits when it comes to your ability to hear, so that those noises do not cause us physical or mental damage. The deer appears to be silent, but it gives people the ability to give the precise words to those that require them. Right. So it's basically telling us that it's telling us how a deer is essentially connected to a Mother Earth. It's telling us how basically we shouldn't be holding that it doesn't belong to us, right? Somebody else's problem doesn't necessarily mean that it's our problem, right? We can try and help, we can try and listen, uh, but it isn't at the end of the day our something that we should carry with us. It's not our energy to carry. No need sin Pilar? I think you're having problems with sound. No need sin.
Sorry. Yeah, I agree with your statement as far as when it comes to other people. Um, I think it was Mikisli, or maybe it's from this lesson from the class that the teacher gives. But it's important for us to allow people the ability to ask for help. And so I think that that is something that we should reinforce. You know, it's not that everybody has to deal with their individual problems by themselves. No, it's everybody's going to get a lesson from what they need, and if that lesson is that they need to learn to ask for help, then that's the lesson that they have, that they have to get. And it's not a weakness. I think we discussed that in the group chat the other day when the brother Koskakwatli 10, I think I think that's sixth son, I'm not sure. But when he shared this like image where they were talking about how everybody would help each other before uh, it was colonized here, how people helped each other out when they didn't have a home, when they didn't have a way to transport, when they didn't have food. And it was not just that the colonizers introduced this unhealthy individualism, but it's also that they introduced this level of unhealthy shame when it comes to needing things and not feeling comfortable asking for help. Like the whole, pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality is not healthy, you know? It's we are social creatures who require help, which is why, you know, a lot of the problems that we have nowadays exist. From a personal point, you know, I have a kid, and if I was a single mom by myself, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to handle it because it's not supposed to be that way, you know? It's not supposed to be just one person with a kid. Um, I've read these parenting books where this woman was like traveling with her 3-year-old, and she was in like Inuit country, and the Inuits were like telling her, wow, she must be sick of you. Like her kid must be sick of you from all the time, every day with you, you know, like she needs a break. Like it's not normal for us to be living this way. And so that's why it's so difficult. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to add as far as this goes. It's a great lesson. The Mazatl lesson is a great lesson, and there's more to come. And I hope everybody, if you guys have questions, you know, feel free to ask them. Thank you.
Klase kamate no initzing. No initzing tekpat.
Everybody kind of used all the words. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add to what has already been well said.
No initzing Nemo.
I don't know why it comes out looking like that. But I'm a little under the weather. I'm not prepared for the course today. Um, it's been a weird week. Anyways, I just want to say I'm grateful for that which I am given and for that which I am not given. I'm grateful for those reminders that material things will remain just material things and we should not have any emotional ties or connections to it. So, yeah.
Well said. Well said. No initzing.
Next slide.
I wanna just mention or touch on the subject that Noinitzing Pilar mentioned as far as community and helping each other. That is actually something that I believe is the downfall of our society, right? The fact that we're taught to be thinking that we're these individualities, which we are, right? But we're part of a community. And our ancestors, our elders didn't think that way at all. They thought of community, right? And within the community, you have people that are going through different issues and in their lives, right? And different teachings and lessons, because a lot of bad things that happen to individuals are actually lessons in disguise, right? We can learn from everything, even the bad things, right? Anything can teach you a lesson, and a lot of things can teach you a lesson, and a lot of um, aspects of life, and everyone is a teacher, right? So I think the one has to be aware of that, of the fact that you can definitely ask for help in the community. Is something that I think is encouraged to do, to be open and basically, get rid of that vulnerability. At times, people do need help, right? Uh, at the same time, be aware that you are part of this community that expects the same things in return, right? Uh, in little towns in Mexico, you can still see, and a lot of people find this extremely funny. I don't know if some of you have seen videos online about this, but you will see weddings where people show up with, a fridge, a living room set, turkeys, to a wedding, right? Uh, and all of this is basically part of the tradition, part of the party, part of setting up the wedding ceremony, right? But that same thing is expected when somebody else gets married, right? uh, it's expected that you, who was help for your wedding, right? That you show up with, I don't know, some liquor, some turkeys, a fridge, or whatever you can do, right? But it's this sense of helping each other, right? And putting it past the material things, which are just, temporary. None of that is eternal. And this was understood, so the idea of sharing was and is to this day quite alive in these communities. And I think that it teaches us a lot when we're not uh, people that were raised in these communities, because it teaches you a big lesson, which to me is that sometimes by giving, you are actually receiving more, right? So I wanted to just touch on that a little bit. Tlazokamati, Meg. No anything? Pilar, you want to go ahead and take us to Tlaloc?
Yeah, I can read it. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Tlaloc, liquor of the earth, is associated with the rain and all the symbols related to it. Gift from the sky, impartiality, fertility. But the symbolism doesn't stop there. It is also the lightning and the thunder, and the solar energy that is constantly fertilizing Mother Earth. Let us not forget that without solar energy, life would not exist. As a lightning, as lightning, it is the celestial fire that falls and fixes elements to the ground, like nitrogen, that is indispensable for living organisms. Finally, in Tlaloc, there is also implicit duality present. In many forms of knowledge, there are two forms to Tlaloc, a good constructive one and a bad destructive one. It speaks of the search for equilibrium to be truly rain that fertilizes and not a thunderstorm that destroys. He reigns over the sign Mazatl and the days of the day signs and Trecena Se Kiawit, the number 8 of the daily sequence and the number 9 of the nocturnal, and the veintenas of Acahualo, Tozostontli, Etzalcoalistli, Tepeihuitli, Tepeihuitl, and Atemostli.
That's how we got a native speaker up here. Just kidding. That was nice. Would you like to add anything? Brother Tony, would you like to add anything?
Tlaloxin, Tlaloxin to me is one of the energies that I've been working with, Tlaloxin and Chalchihuitl. So to me it's an energy that I try to connect to all the time in the more advanced circle. It's to me it's a beautiful thing. The Is one of my energies. So I was able to work with it and build a relationship, if you want to call it that, with Tlaloxin. Anytime I hear rain or I see rain, I find it so beautiful. The day that my tonal was read to me, it was raining, and I felt that Tlaloc basically made a presence for me uh, that night. So is just one of those things that I find extremely amazing when it comes to energies. Um, and what it does is just that is the creation of life, right? In so many different aspects. Destruction a lot of times is also creation, right? When we see hurricanes destroying, cities or washing entire towns away due to a storm, uh, it tells you the power it has, right? Uh, and when you feel the breeze by the sea, you know, uh, is one of those things that is just beautiful. So and quite the opposite, right? So Tlaloc has a lot of different aspects to it as an energy. The thunder, of course, uh, the power behind it is just to me is just one of those beautiful things. The one thing that I wish myself, right, was that I lived out in a mountain with no windows, where I would be able to actually kind of like be more connected, right, with these energies. It's harder to feel some of these energies in the city, just because of the fact that you're inside. You have windows. You're trying to stay away from the heat. If you live in El Paso, right, and it's 110 degrees, you want to have your AC on, and that kind of keeps you away from the natural environment. Same here in Colorado, where I'm at, right? If it's way too cold, you're gonna try to warm yourself up, or if it's too hot, you're gonna do the opposite, right? Try to cool yourself down, which kind of prevents us from having this relationship with nature. But in the exercises that I've done myself, I've been able to somewhat build a relationship with some of these energies that I find is beautiful, energetic, empowering, right? And that's basically what I would say about Tlaloc. He can empower you a lot. Anything?
I think
Anything?
everything,
Anything you like to add, or no anything, TechPad?
I think everything that needed to be said has been said.
Yeah. Does anybody have questions or any comments on any of the topics?
So one thing I've noticed is my body, like I think it's the change in the pressure right before a thunderstorm, and the longer that the rain comes in, like days before, it could happen like days before that we even get the first signs of rain, I'll start getting really bad migraines and stuff. And it doesn't ease up usually until like it already starts to storm or rain. And I've noticed that when I concentrate more on it, I do try to have a open, not so much an open relationship or dialogue, I can't describe it, with Tlaloc. I try to not so much invoke him, but honor him, if that makes sense. And the closer I feel to him are the days that my migraines seem to get worse, but those are the times that the rain comes. I can't describe it. I've always had the headaches before storms, but it wasn't until I had my reading that I really started to put my energy in to that, like concentrating and being cognizant of what it was that I was doing, and being aware of my body, and the changing of the pressure, And it had become like a running joke at my job because I was like, it's going to rain. And it could be not a cloud in sight, no call for rain, nothing. And within a couple of days, it would start raining. And this lady comes up to me and she was like, I just laid sod down, or like she just had some kind of grass that she had just had put laid in her yard. And I was like, I promise you, before the end of the week, it is going to start raining and it'll last for about 3 or 4 days. And I promise you that is exactly what happened. And she comes to me and she said, she asked if I do the rain dance. And I kind of took offense to it at first, but then I was like, it's being in tune with your body, because the deer and Tlalok were in my readings. And so I think a lot of the being aware in the here and the now, and not ignoring um my instinct has gotten me further. I've noticed that anytime if I get a gut feeling about something and I ignore it and I'm like, oh, you're overreacting, I ignore it, it is when I get in trouble. But you kind of like, if you really pay attention, you can pick up on subtle differences in the energy of different people. And you don't maybe not realize it at first, but hindsight's always 2020. And you can go back and you can be like, take note of how you were feeling at that time and being like, I knew something was off. I knew something was not right, or I knew this was coming. But at the time, you write it off. So this lesson really, I don't know, like I relate to this lesson a lot because I have been practicing being in the here and now, being in tune with my surroundings and my senses, not just like, it sounds weird, but I will take one sense away. Um, like I'll close my eyes and I'm dependent on every other sense that I have, because I no longer readily have my eyesight available to me. And so I'll sit with my eyes closed and I will try to hear and feel and smell and get a feel for energy around me of what's going on. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's hit and miss. Or, like if I have my earbuds in or my headphones on, which are noise canceling, I will sit there and I won't necessarily be listening to anything, but just the act of canceling out the noise muffles my hearing. So I'm unable to hear. So I take notice visually. And again, it's just taking one sense away from yourself and depending on the rest of them, especially that sixth sense, that intuition, paying attention to that specifically, and the different changes within yourself and the energy around you. It's hit and miss with me, like I said, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, that is all.
Yeah, Tlazokamati, Noinitzin, Tong. I think one of that is true. I mean, people can sense and perceive these things that are going to happen in weather. Um, we are basically, or for all of the four elements, right? So when you think of it that way, we are water. Our body contains a lot of water, right? A high percentage of it. And you'll notice that, well, there's even a word, lunatic, right? That's in reference to the moon having an effect on people. And the moon does have an effect on people. It has an effect on a lot of different things, right? Uh, and the reason why is because a lot of different things have water, right? We have water. So the movement of the energies around the earth, even the clouds, along with the moon, do have an effect on us, and that is really interesting. But it's also uh, quite common, I think. It's just people don't pay attention to it as much as they should. I know that it happens to a lot of members in my family. Uh, they start feeling those headaches right before it's gonna rain. So I know it's common. It's just not spoken about in this sense that often. It's just people sometimes think it's just they relate it that way, but they leave it at that, right? But it's more than that. It's basically our senses talking to us. Do we want to proceed to the next slide, or does anyone has any other questions or comments?
I just
think that
really,
was a-
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I appreciate this lesson, because I tend to like be more in my head than in my body, if that makes sense. So, I feel like this will be really good for me to be able to be more in my senses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually Mazatl is an amazing class, and I think that all of us can have things that we can kind of like, that sound familiar to us. The perception aspect, the weather aspect, the earth, the vibration aspect. There's a lot of different things that hit home to individually to a lot of people, I think, out of Mazatl. No, you need Nemo?
I believe that was the last of the slides. That was the last one from what I can see there on WhatsApp. And I know it wasn't he talking about the dream realm as well in the video for the lecture. Uh,
So there's an exercise. Let's see here. Is the exercise that we were talking about Tuesday, where you're essentially are having to use a few tools. Remember that slide?
Oh, yeah, for Mikitsli.
No, it's not from Mikistli. It's from Mazatl. It's basically where we're going to be using the connection for our perception. It's part of the same slides. Here, let me see here if I can take a quick picture of it and I'll send it to you guys. And I can just share it to the group and then we can go from it. Do you guys have it? So essentially it's going to be an exercise. And I went ahead and just shared the slide, but I think it's in Spanish to the group, okay? So I'll go ahead and translate it, and we'll go ahead and explain the exercise as well, okay? For anyone that wants to do it. So the first thing that we got to do is we got to wear or we got to have an Kwamekat, okay? What is an Kwamekat? Ishkwameka is the red bandana. You notice a lot of people wear a red bandana around their head. And this is essentially going to be the exercise to open our perception. When you wear the bandana, you want to wear it in your forehead, right? And the idea is the perception is going to be is going to come from the top of the head. We want to go ahead and cleanse the bandana by using basically either some tobacco, pericon, copal, or cempasúchil, or some garlic also, right? In a paper, in a little piece of paper, okay, we want to write down a petition, right, to Mazatl. We want to go ahead and essentially figure out what it is that we want to work on, right? What is the connection that we're trying to do? What are we asking for, right? I'll share in my case, I was asking for knowledge when I did this exercise, right? So you can basically do that, right? What is it that you're looking to work on? Your perception, your awareness, your instincts, anything that might appeal to you, right? Write it down. Now, for this exercise, and I don't have this myself yet, the idea is that you're gonna have basically a deer head, right? And the idea would be for you to put this petition inside the cranium or inside the head of the deer. And essentially, you're going to be turning on a candle, right? And you're going to be doing your prayer, you're going to be doing your ceremony, asking all the elements for help, asking all of your ancestors for help. And at the end of the day, you want to go ahead and get on your four extremities, okay? Your both your arms, your hands, and your legs, right? And what you want to do is you want to quiet your mind as much as you can and just feel the earth, okay? And if you do this for a few minutes, you will start noticing the vibration, okay? And this is the vibration that the deer feels all the time. So you're basically are doing that by doing this exercise. You're essentially are getting in touch or connecting with Mother Earth and its vibration, okay? This is something that you should do uh, on earth. Don't do this if you can, right? Don't try not to do this in concrete or in a carpet. It's always going to be way better if you do it I don't know, in a park by grass, or in a mountain, or any place that is basically earth. um, you want to go ahead and also for this one is going to be difficult, because for this one you're required to have like a little hat, Mexican hat. I don't have myself either, but the idea here is going to be to try and also get in touch with your smelling sense, right? You want to go ahead and basically go for the wind from all four directions, okay? And essentially try and perceive as many smells as you can, right? From everywhere. And you will start to notice that you will be, you know, increasingly be able to, you know, learn and be more aware of the different smells, just like a deer would. So that's basically how we're going to wake up our sense of smell. Another thing that we have to do is you want to go out around 12:45 or so in the morning, right? In the middle of the night. And you want to go ahead and ask for knowledge from all four different directions. And at the end, acknowledge that you are that seventh direction, right? That you are that Mazatl, that you are that deer, and that you are being that balance of everything, and essentially be able to make a full connection with yourself and the deer in that sense, right? Uh, this is an exercise for which you have to prepare yourself. And the way to prepare yourself is going to be by avoiding a few things, right? You're going to be avoid or try to avoid, you don't have to do this if you have health issues. Try to avoid food. You want to avoid sleep. You want to avoid having sexual activities. You want to avoid talking shit about people, or talking shit about anything, period, right? You saw something on the news about Palestine, it's okay. You can keep your mouth shut about it, even though you will be triggered a lot, right? You saw something about, I don't know, anything that usually is gonna trigger you. You're gonna take it as an exercise, right? For you to be quiet about it. And it's extremely hard, but it's something that does help you build that energy up. You also wanna go ahead and essentially uh, take care of your own thoughts, right? So that's another thing that you gotta be really aware of for this exercise. You wanna do this for an entire day, the day before, right? Uh, so you wanna make sure that your thoughts are clear, that you're not having any type of bad thoughts, that you're not having any type of feelings or emotions the one would consider negative, right? You don't want to be judgmental of people or things or the system, although, you know, again, these are things that are triggering to a lot of different emotions. The idea is that we're going to be fully aware of them, which is quite difficult. Yeah, this is basically a fasting that we're doing here. So this is the exercise. As you do the exercise, there is a chance that you might experience things because you're awakening your senses. And one of those senses that you're awakening is that sense of awareness, right? So you might see some energies in different aspects, right? Some of them might be scary. And as long as you don't have these feelings of danger, try to keep your composure and again, try to observe and learn as much as you can from the situation. But that's essentially what the exercise is going to do. Uh, as far as fasting for water, when I did the exercise, I fasted for water up until I believe it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I was having ice. I was eating ice chips. I just to keep myself, mentally under the idea that I was eating. But that's basically how I did it myself. Any questions? No, anyone on the exercise?
Hello, buenas noches.
Buenas noches, no anything.
Temachtilistli. Bueno, like, just wanted to go over like the exercise. Like, I know, like, I was just wondering, like, este, to use a H mecha around your head, like a red one, and then
Yes.
Okay, what was the next one? Like, you fast for, I mean, you fast for like a full day, and then I wasn't sure the last part, like, you know what I mean, like for the exercise you put,
So for
sometimes
the
I'm a
first
little bit
one,
slow, but
right, sorry, I think I did it too quick. I was reading it and going at it at the same time. Sorry about that, 91. So the first one, you want to go ahead and use your bandana, your mekat, okay? That's going to be your first thing, and you want to protect yourself. For these exercises, always, we got to protect ourselves, right? that is going to be one of the main things that we have to do all the time first. The second one, or the second step would be to try and write down the petition of what it is that we want to accomplish, right? What we're asking for. The next one would be to quiet our minds, quiet our surroundings as much as we can, get in our four extremities, and connect with Mother Earth and its vibrations. The next one would be to connect with the wind. The next one would be, go ahead.
No, es que se cortó when you were telling me about the petitions, you know, se cortó. And it's
okay, so
like sometimes
come again, Noinitsing, you broke up a little bit.
yeah, it's been doing that. Like last time I got on here and I was like, man, it kind of seemed weird, you know what I mean? But makes me think about the energies, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, this stuff is the class is like healing based, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, sometimes it makes me wonder about like the energy. Sometimes, like, you know, like as far as energy, what I mean is like, you know, I feel like this is just me, right? Like, you know, sometimes there's opposition, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. I've seen it where people are having some interesting conversations and all of a sudden connection is lost everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. O cuando va a ir uno al Temazcal or something like that, something happens que no puede ir, o es cositas así medias extrañas, you know what I mean? But that's just me. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, pero I disculpa, I didn't mean to interrupt, you know what I mean? I just said like wanted to let you know that que cuando me estás pegando se corta, you know?
You're fine, Nitsin. Sorry about that. I don't know if it's a connection. Can everybody hear me? Is it my connection or?
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. So it might be your connection, Nitsin, because when you were talking, you were coming in and out. So I'll go ahead and explain it again really quick as far as the step to simplify it. Hopefully you can hear it. If not, we can always, go back to the class and or answer the questions in the chat. But essentially what we're doing here is the first thing, cleansing ourselves. Next thing is our petition. We want to go ahead and write it down. The next thing would be to quiet our minds and ourselves and connect with Mother Earth using our extremities and feeling the vibrations. Next one would be to look for the direction of the wind and connect with the wind using our sense of smell. The next one would be to connect with the smells from the wind, right? The next one is going to be to come out around 12:45 in the morning and essentially ask for knowledge to all six directions. Again, that's north, south, west, east, up, down. And you want to make sure that you acknowledge the fact that you are the seventh direction, right? In the seventh, Tonal again is Mazatl. So that's how we're basically empowering ourselves with Mazatl. And then the other thing would be for us to do the fasting, right? For 24 hours prior to the exercise. Any other questions, Noinitsing?
I appreciate it. Muchas gracias.
No problem. Anytime. Let us know if there's any other questions that you have, Noinitsing.
I was gonna share a dream, if that was okay, real quick.
Yeah, please go ahead. Perfect timing. We just did
Okay.
Mikistli last week.
So this is in regards to the haircut, and you know, last night, last night, when I went to sleep, it took me. I've been going to bed like really, pero me estaba acostando muy tarde y al fin me acosté más temprano, pero duré como una hora más para dormirme y al fin agarré el sueño bien a gusto. And I was out, and I had two different dream episodes that stuck in my mind, but one of them was strange because this was like for whatever reason I woke up and I felt a lot of peace. You know what I mean? Like joy, like harmony, like it was good, como que hubo buena energía, ¿verdad? And sometimes I feel very isolated. You know what I mean? And that's just me, And I keep a very small, like almost kick myself out of my circle, ¿verdad? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm gonna let myself go. You know what I mean? So, but you know what I mean? I keep a very small circle. You know what I mean? In my personal life, that is, And anyway, al punto que I was asleep, and then I remember like being in the house when being in my parents' house, but it was like I don't know. This was like decades ago, in other words, right? And I remember leaving the TV on, and I looked at the TV through the window, and it was still on. And this was like, I mean, late into the evening hours. I mean, you know, yeah, past midnight, right? And I looked at it, instead of like me going inside, I was always like, when I was a child, and this is like, you know what I mean? I was embarrassed to say this, right? But I was always scared of the dark, right? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna admit it, right? So siempre tenía miedo a la oscuridad. In the dream, I slept on this bench, like this weight bench, to do pesas, ¿verdad? Do bench press. I used to have this bench press, like this metal bench press, but I was sleeping on top of it. And I wasn't really comfortable in the dream, sleeping on it because it was, obviously with, you're not sleeping in your bed, your mattress, you know. So al punto que I was like sleeping on it, and it wasn't at nighttime, and it was complete like darkness. You know what I mean? And instead of me going inside and like trying to get like comfort into my own bed, I I remember there was a lot of wind, and it's kind of been really windy off and on, in these areas, you know. And I don't know what it was. It was like a warm breeze, but instead of me being like scared because of darkness, I don't know what it was, but I just made harmony, and I made peace with the wind and the oscuridad. You know what I mean? No goblins, no ghosts, no demons, no nothing weird, nothing weird happened. I just slept outside, and I was just like, I remember when I looked, I was just like on the dirt, on the soil. You know what I mean? Estaba en la tierra, pero it was just like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like the same wind that's hitting from west to east. Say from Arizona, into southern New Mexico, into West Texas, back into West Texas, right? Like, es el mismo aire, es el mismo viento, pero como que me armonicé with it. So, I just woke up feeling with a lot of peace. I can't explain it. I don't understand the coded language of the dream, but I felt that peace. Like, I wasn't scared. I wasn't, and in the dream, like, there just wasn't any time. It was like if I was in, my early adolescent years. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to share that dream. So
Claro, Kamati, Miek, I mean, as you were talking and sharing your experience there, a couple of things came to my mind. One of which that I actually learned from the Temachtilli, and I think I just heard it in one of the recent classes. Our first state of life is darkness, right? When we're in the womb of our mom, is darkness. So that is actually our first state of life, and that really comes down to being in caves, right? a lot of the exercises that are done are actually done on caves. And the idea is that the cave is really gonna be the womb of Mother Earth, right? And that is what is thought that is our original home, caves, right? The cavemen. We come from the caves, right? So caves are dark and they have this feeling, right? That is perfect for connecting to ourselves in that state that we were when we were in our mother's womb. So it's, I mean, I think that a lot of us had some fears of darkness for some reason. I don't know why, but it's interesting. That came to my mind when you were sharing that. And the other thing, of course, is the fact that wind, Yeyekat, is basically the first thing that we do after we come out of that cave, right? The womb of our mom. The first thing that we do is open our eyes, see the light, breathe, take that breath of life, right? Which is basically what Yeyekat is considered the life, the breath of life, right? Without it, we wouldn't be able to be alive. So thank you for sharing. I think it's a really profound dream. It has a lot of deep meaning behind it in a lot of different ways. I mean, I love for you to share with us what you think it actually turned out to be at the, later on, maybe once you have another couple of dreams related to that one. But I do think that it is basically you just making a connection with both things, the wind and the dark spaces, right? Like you said.
Mati, muchísimas gracias.
Tlazokamati, Miek. Anyone else that may have some questions or comments? I think it's going to be a slow night today. I think we get Noinixing Nemo and Noinixing Tech, but get some rest. They're under the weather today, so. Anything else anybody wants to add before we finish the class today? I think we're
No,
set.
just thank you guys so much.
Thank you, sister. I was gonna ask the Temachtilistli question before we go, if that's cool.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, like I know this is probably like advanced stuff, right? But I've always been curious about it, and so one of the questions that I had to, it, I know it's probably not an easy thing. It's probably like exercises in the future, but like how do you set that intention? Like if like for me in that dream that I had, and not just like the only dream, you know what I mean? I'm sure everyone here has had these type of dreams. Um, going into lucid dreaming, and then some of them are like in the astral projection where you came out of your body because like you felt it or you saw it, right? And I know I've done this like several times, not doing any specific. In other words, like the situations that's happened to me, and I know I'm the only person that experienced this, right? But it's like nunca puse esa atención, and there was times where me salía de mi cuerpo, and then all of a sudden I know, like before you know it, like I was somewhere else. Sometimes I was in my room floating around like with no gravity. You know what I mean? It felt weird, you know what I mean? Porque like you know what I mean? We're used to dealing with the physical laws, right? But like, in that, I guess it's you're in your Nawal state. There's no like the physical laws that like don't really apply as much, But like, how do you set your intention? Like, say, okay, well, I want to go to, and I actually did go one time, right? But there's no concept of time. It's like estás doblando el tiempo. You're bending time, Because I woke up, and this is a dream some time back. I was like 10 years old, 10 or 11, 12 years old, maybe like 11 or something like that. And my first cousin, he used to sleep right next to me. And I remember, disculpa la palabra, ese cabrón would hog the whole bed, right? And se iba a lo calentito, and I'd be like, hey, quítate, güey, you know? Get it, you know, vete pa tu lado, right? So yeah, we sleep in the same bed, you know what I mean? And this guy would hog the whole bed. Y olía muy feo las patas, you know? I was like, oh my God, quítate, quítate. Siempre me ponía las patas you know, hacia la cara. And then, but it's crazy because I bring this up because in the dream, I was physically present in that time, in that space, in that year. And it's like there was no time. It was like it was happening right now. I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? I'm in 2000, I'm in 1960 something, ¿verdad? Like you remember it because you lived it, right? I would sleep with the TV on. I always, like as a kid, me levantaba, I couldn't sleep. I turn on the cartoons. Me ponía a ver small canal Cartoon Network. I'd always watch Cartoon Network like in, you know, late hours when I couldn't sleep. And I'd fall asleep with the TV on. But everything was intact in my room. Like I was physically present in that time, in that dimension. And then I was out of my body, and I remember floating in the bed. But it's like instead of happening it in 2022 when this actually happened to me, you know, I remember I was out of my body and I was floating out of my bed. Like there was como un cordón, you know what I mean? Like a cordón that connected from me underneath those blankets, right? And I know different people will describe this como un cordón que conecta al ombligo, ¿verdad? And that your spirit or your nahual will travel like a certain distance, right? And you know, I did freak out, and the times it's happened to me, I have freaked out because it's not a very good, pleasant feeling. It feels kind of creepy, te da como los chills. So, and I just said, you know what? Vámonos a la chingada. Excuse my language. Like, I want to go back to Teotihuacan, you know what I mean? Because I know and I know a lot of brothers and sisters here that have been to, you know, that have had the opportunity of going to these sacred sites, you know, the Teucalis, and any other sacred sites, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that there's a strong connection, you know what I mean? Everyone that's here, you know, there's no doubt that they have a deep connection to their roots, to their ancestors, to their heritage. So going to these sacred spots, I mean, it's just so, I mean, it's been life changing, you know what I mean? So in my dream, I said, I want to go to Teotihuacan. Boom, and I was there in the daytime. You know, the whole dream shifted. I wasn't in my old trailer, you know, back when I was like 11 or 12 years old or something like that. You know, I was actually physically present in the daytime, you know, and you know, giving, I mean, I could provide like physical details, like the sun was shining strong. I could feel the breeze in my skin and the radiation, the heat from the sun on my flesh, people walking up and down the stairs. And I mean, it was cool, you know, it was really cool. But like, basically, I asked these questions porque cuando se va uno a dormir, and I typically do this thing. I mean, you know, I'll go to sleep, and you know, even if try to set an intention, like before you know, it's just some random dream about some random nonsense. You know what I mean? It's never really like where I program and like, okay, I want to go to, let's just say I want to go back to Cholula, or I want to go to a whole nother continent, like, you know what I mean? So that's what I was wondering, like, you know, but maybe it is a question for some of the advanced classes, but that's all I wanted to ask. You know, how do you set that intention? Because I've tried to set that intention before, but it's just like it's like roll a dice. You know what I mean? You know, una rifa, like you put your name in there. You don't know what, you know what I mean. You're gonna dream tonight, but you don't know where you're gonna go. You know. So muchas gracias. I appreciate that's one of the questions that I've always, you know, one of the things I'm still curious about. You know.
Right. Tlazo Kamati for your question. And it's when it comes to setting the intention, it's one of those things where you're going to have a lot of trial and error, right? And it doesn't always work either, right? So the way that I do it myself uh, is I just basically lay down. Here, let me turn on my camera, show you how I do it, okay? So I just basically lay down I put my arms like this, okay? Just make a cross like this, like if I was a mommy, okay? And I tilt my head to my left, okay? And that's essentially how I try to fall asleep. And I also set the intention mentally, right, of what it is that I want to do. And I ask Miklantecutli to allow for me to have that connection, right? You got to be able to ask your ancestors for help and Miklantecutli when you're actually trying to connect with Miklampa. It'll simplify the entire process for you, I think. But it's still a trial and error thing. And I think that it also requires energy to be saved. Uh, I've noticed myself that a lot of my experiences happen between maybe 4 and 7 o'clock in the morning, right? Uh, by then, obviously, I'm kind of like, already had some rest, and I feel that my brain or something happens to where I'm already relaxed enough to the point that I can actually have those episodes happen, and they happen to me quite often. Uh, I think one of the things that we got to work on is what it is that we're trying to accomplish when we're doing it, right? You want to talk to an uncle. What is it that you're trying to gain out of this conversation? What are the answers that you or the questions that you have, right? Be prepared for this, right? Kind of like you're going to an interview in a way. Try to gather the knowledge that you're trying to do, right? I mean, if you're going to go to Teotihuacan, you may want to go to see how it was built, right? At the beginning, how it was running uh, at a particular point when it was an active city. We have the power of doing things like that. I'm not there yet myself, but I know people that have actually done things like that. So it's possible. Um, so I think that when it comes to that, the sky is the limit. I mean, multiple skies, because the dream world is basically a scratch to our imagination. I think that is one of those things that we haven't really tapped into uh, as as humans. Although we have a lot of people that have told us, different information about it, it's one of those things that is still it holds a lot of mystery in a lot of different ways, I think. So continue to try, I would say, is the best thing to do. No Noinitsing. Anything else you want to add to that Noinitsing TechPad? I know that you have had quite some success also.
Yeah, I mean, just never stop trying. Like Brother Hatlani has mentioned. I think, yeah, just with practice, it's gonna get easier to kind of maintain more control over your dream, more intention behind what you're trying to do. I have come to realize that the most vivid, most experience I've had in a dream is when I just kind of go with an open mind and previously just kind of express to my ancestors that I'm seeking knowledge, right? I'm seeking some answers, uh, just growth and like learning, right? And I don't know. I guess like the only thing I can say is just keep trying and be prepared to not understand it all, right? In the beginning. It takes time.
Tlaxocamati, Noinitsing. Anything else that you guys would like to discuss? Any additional comments? Thank you for sharing, Noinitsing. Dreams like those are quite special, and I think they need to be discussed more and more, because they teach the rest of us a lot of things as well. All right, if there's no other questions, then we'll call it a night. I hope everybody gets some rest, especially No eating Nemo, no eating Tekpat, get some tea, and get feel better as quickly as possible. No eating Obsidian Tongue, please stay in touch with us. Let us know how we can help. And good night to everybody. Tlaso kamati miak.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Tlazo kamati.
Tlaso
See you guys
kamati miak.
later.